Is it me? Do
Mm-hmm.
I? Oh, okay. Welcome, one and all. I may or may not be imitating your normal host today, SoulSym Mirak and his showcase. Today we've got Aspects and Envoy Sideshow, in which case I am actually taking the reins, your lovely host, Vyrtuous. And with me, I've got one Maharastra.
That's me.
Indeed. And in the background, we have our overseer, our watcher, our master of the world. So
I'm just here making sure things run smooth.
he
Morning,
is.
everybody.
So we are diving straight into the deep end here, and this little sideshow is actually a step back in time, something of a flashback, if you will, to that time where Vyrtuos and Maha spent technically only like 5 hours, but in the dimension that they were in Zevril's necropolis, 13 years. Do I have that right? 13 years?
Yep.
13 years. A whole damn lifetime. And everything that went on within. So, without further ado, I guess we're just going to dive right on into it. And we're going to open up with a bang, a bit of a fight scene. So, where we had last left off in the necropolis itself, and the reason why they were in the necropolis in the first place was Maha's mate Avril was in labor, or at least going into labor. Maha was freaking out about it, and so Avril asked Zevril to just get him out of the way for now. There wasn't much he could do, and his worrying was stressing her out. So Zevril decided to throw Maha unceremoniously into his pocket dimension, his
His
other
fanny
realm,
pack.
his fanny pack, yes, his talking living fanny pack. And Virtuous, being right next to Zero when he did this, was like, "What the hell are you doing? That's crazy. Send me in there too." And so Zero sent both of them in there and promptly forgot about them. Granted, it wasn't entirely his fault. Wandox and Zevril were working on building their aspect force, interviewing new recruits, and doing the one thing all of us fear: paperwork. And so, 5 hours out there became 13 years for Maha and Virtuos within. And in that time, Aster had told Maha that he would use this opportunity to help him become, not just become a father, but to help him understand magic, since his kids would absolutely, no doubt, have all sorts of a variety of magic abilities that he may not yet be prepared for. Maha agreed, and the training began. Our scene right now is going to open up with a bit of a fight scene inside of the necropolis in an area just kind of cordoned off to the side. Or rather, Aster had made a something of a coliseum, a gladiatorial style arena for the two to fight in. Vert had invited any of the zombies that wanted to come watch to go and witness, and within, they were having one of their many battles. We're gonna bounce some exposition off each other a bit, Maha. I'm gonna tell you what to roll, but your roll bonus will be based on how you answer the questions in your description. So, to paint the scene a little bit, the audience was cheering, and yet their cheers were kind of deafened under the constant booms, slashes, and clashes of blades and fists. Virtuos and Maha were sparring as they had done many times at this point. The arena had several pillars in it, but that was about it for obstacles. But still, Vert was using those to his advantage. In fact, he was constantly shifting the battlefield around Maha to use to his advantage. When the two of them started, they were fighting on solid ground, but that ground would very swiftly raise up into pillars and spires, Vert jumping back and forth and slashing at Maha with his glaive, a double-bladed staff with extreme amounts of range. His goal was to essentially keep Maha at bay and constantly circle him, keeping him off balance and off of his feet while he got attacks off. What would Maha do? How would Maha defend himself? What is Maha's weapon of choice? And what is Maha's fighting style of choice? Paint the scene for me.
Maha's a very brawlic person. He finds the best form of fighting is to follow the instinct that comes first. So with every slash that came, it was a almost body stopping movement that would come out of Maha. Every missed attack would immediately throw in a thought process of what to do next. When Vert is very much far away, throwing something to maybe blindside or give, trying to find that one opening to hunt his prey. Almost like a game of cat and mouse. Well, literally a game of cat and mouse.
Nice, nice. Give me a D20 roll. I'm gonna add +10 for your combat experience, and for the exposition, another +4.
I got a 15. I got a nat 1. That's a very perfect way to start this out.
Perfect. To Vert's 18, Vyrtuous had an intrinsic understanding of Maha's fighting style. And so he was doing a lot of things to keep him off balance. Not only was he like his glaive could take on two stances, similar to a bow staff. He could hold it in the middle for more up close strikes, or he can hold it more at the end for a spear kind of style. It was the longer range style that he was using, but every time he would teleport around him, throw a slash and teleport somewhere else, he was watching Maha's movement, realizing that Maha's attacks weren't necessarily patterned, but there was intention behind it, a stratagem. And so, after a quick clash, another slash and teleport, Vyrtuous slid backwards, smirked, and vanished, appearing above Maha, but throwing his spear straight down. From the spear, a deluge of water would just erupt, turning the whole battlefield into an oceanscape. You're not so tough when you can't move that well. As he said that and landed in the water, he grew fins across his hands and feet. What do you do?
I'm a cat that does enjoy water. I'll play this game with you. And he unfurls his wings. And he somehow is still keeping a steady movement, but definitely not as fast, but it's more linear. Where it's sort of similar to Juggernaut, where he can move very fast in one direction, but there's no simply just changing direction without using a opposing force, as he's using his wings as a propulsion device.
Nice. Vert's eyes went wide for a moment, but he continued to smile, diving, or rather swimming backwards and slashing with the spear, going deeper and deeper underwater, until, with another grin, which at this point, Maha would know whenever Vert grins like that, he's got some wild idea, he would vanish, teleporting out and above the ocean, pointing at it as if firing a gun with his fingers and freezing the entire thing, leaving Maha trapped in a glacier. He would land, look down at that, and grin, So does this mean I win? What do you do? Now you can roll normally.
Uh, as that happens, the ice that is probably pretty solid, white topped, begins to turn red.
Mm.
It turns, from that orange to a yellow to red, and then a giant boom would erupt as the ice had exploded. In the crater, there is a Maharastra. Petty tricks like this won't get you anywhere. But fine. And one of the glacial shrapnels, he throws a flurry of them at Vyrtuous.
Oh. So what would our rolls be?
Uh, I'll do it without my super bonus. Yeah.
Sound generous. All right. That's a 13.
I also literally just roll above a 1 for me.
I mean, you don't have to.
Yeah, I got a 2.
You don't think?
I got a 14.
When the
How are you rolling at?
I'm rolling in average. I'm rolling in the camp. Oh,
Uh,
I'm rolling in campaign chat. My bad. Hold on. Okay.
when the glacier began to form hairline fractures, the slightest tremor before the entire frozen oceanscape exploded. Vert looked genuinely surprised and went flying back on one of those very same glaciers that, well, went flying. When the shrapnel started being thrown, he ducked down behind the glacier that he was in, but the strength of Maha's throw completely obliterated it. Vert was forced to jump off of one to another, but each time taking slight cuts, scratches across his body, and wincing, but at the same time, another Vert had crawled up from the ice behind Maha, made of ice himself, trying to stab him in the spine. I don't know, these tricks are pretty good. What would Maha do?
Uh, so the deadly thing about chimeras, where it seems like they always have eyes in the back of their heads.
Mm-hmm.
Maha's very similar. When this ice clone is trying to sneak up on him, he is greeted by 2 scorpion-like tails that are very much ready for action and seem to have a very minor mind to themselves.
When those tails struck, the clone looked surprised for a moment, but still had that smile, specifically because it seemed to have expected it. The tails would strike it, leaving indents in its body, and ice began to frost over his tails and onto the ground. Looking up, all of the shrapnel and debris were also ice clones of Vyrtuous. You see, the trick is not just staying one step ahead, but 2 or 3. You surprised I saw that coming? You shouldn't be. All of the clones were saying that at once as they rained down towards Maha.
And as that happens, a roar is erupted.
Mm.
And in the roar, you feel a very intense fire mana come off of it towards in all directions, like a heat wave heading just as fast towards the clones as they were heading towards him.
All right, let's hit those opposed rolls. Soul, what we rolling?
We'll call that one. Maha, you roll con. Vert, you roll intelligence.
All right.
And Vert will give you a +5 for the clones.
Oh god, a 15. Atrocious.
Oh, so literally just don't that one.
Damn! The roar rang out like a hurricane, or perhaps like a heat wave, leaving literal distortions in the air as the shockwave ran off. The clones that dove in very quickly melted if they didn't just outright evaporate, leaving a mist in the air, but also leaving a surprised Vyrtuous staggering backwards. Once again, the two would land on even ground, but once Vert landed and stamped his glaive into the ground, the battlefield shifted once again. All of the ice sizzling for just a moment before sparking. The arena turning dark just because of the light beneath them as lightning bolts raced across the field. Though Maha could smell that these weren't specifically lightning bolts, they were more like electric serpents, living lightning. And it was the only floor they had around them, jolting around back and forth, striking at Maha from different angles, with Vert riding on different lightning serpents, until one landed directly beneath the two of them, allowing them to fight on its back until it tried to flip upside down to throw them both off. As they battled, as the terrain kept changing, eventually, at the very end of this out of many fights, give me a d20 roll, +10. Versus an 11. Come on, dice. Come on now. Bro!
That 20 coming again.
Make the scene for me. How does Maha finish the spar?
He says enough of the games. You know, it takes a minute to beat war, and I am the one that has the attrition. And he grows to his maximum size
Ooh.
and charges up yet another roar. This time infused with thunder.
Well, for just a little spice, Vert looking like Kratos right now. His eyes would go wide. You practiced that line, didn't you? I know you did. And he would start trying to like run up Maha's arm, stab him across the arm, jump to the other way, get him across the shoulder, trying to stop him before he roars. Go ahead though. Still you.
And as he does,
Not the evil laugh before the description. I'm good at those. I'm very good at those.
All right, continue, Maha.
As he does that, you know, sometimes you have to make false steps for people to take for another victory.
That's what I
And
said.
he shrinks down, but as
Oh.
he does, he is directly above Vyrtuos, grabbing at Vyrtuos, attempting to fully latch onto him.
You got that nat 20, sir. Take it away. Unfortunately.
Yeah, and he does that good old Omni-Man style, grabs him by the face, and just takes him down into the ground, standing over.
Until they impacted.
Until they impacted, yeah.
And as the two of you are falling out of the sky, just before reaching the ground, uh, a plume of astral dust swirls up from the ground and envelops Virtuous at the back, um, and slows the descent to a halt just before the ground. Asterisk holding Virtuous up.
The clouds still went wild.
Know how to ruin someone's fun.
Bert's eyes were wide as saucers right now, looking at the floor. Oh, oh. I could have eaten that. How would have I? Surely. You can see that parts of his forehead had already started to
Totally.
shift into more like a craniodose skull, like one of those prehistoric dinosaurs. Huh, but nice save, Aster. I appreciate that.
In the bin. In the bin.
Aster's,
You would have lived.
Aster's expression was distant, though. Eyes glowing like golden beacons once again. Aster had been missing for a little while, preparing something. Not missing per se, he was always visible off in the distance working on some massive ritual. It almost looked like a portal made from spell circles. And when he arrived, with a wave of his hands, he sent the zombies and the creation away, looking at the two of you. It is done. Vert looked a little confused. For about... he lost count now. But Aster had been asking for use of the body to do some kind of major spell ritual. But he had never really fully explained. For his part, Aster looked right past Vyrtuous and directly to Maharastra. I made you a promise. And now I am able to keep it. With a wave of his hands, it looked like the floor, the walls, the ceiling, everything just kind of warped in super speed until they were all standing in front of said portal, spell circle. He looked directly at Maha once again, and there was a he always had a serious tone, but there was definitely a more of a gravity in his entire countenance. Aspect of war, Maharashtra. I have sought through the astral and found your ancestors. I have sought counsel from them, and I have almost completed. He motioned to the circle. This. However, there is one final ingredient to the spell. Your ancestral memory. Aster, that very cryptic, and very deep sounding, but what does that all mean? Aster looked at Vert, and his expression softened just a bit. First, Aster's eyes flashed, and then Vyrtuous' eyes flashed, and Vert staggered back, looked at Maha with wide eyes, a mixture of fear, but also excitement. It was like he didn't know what to say. He didn't even know if he should tell him. What does Maha do?
He's confused. Ancestors weren't I. What do you mean? Ancestral memory. I have no memories of where I once was. Not even knowing what our true anything is called. I only know what I've been told. How could you have found anything?
You are a creature of evolution. And like all creations, he looked at Virtuous. Memory is stored in the DNA, within your blood, from those who spawned you and beyond. This spell will take and use that and complete the creation. The two of you will experience life as Mantanen, raised in Mantanen tribe, under Mantanen culture and custom, by the souls of actual true Mantanen. Vert actually scratched his head. Not to sound kind of insensitive, buddy, but they don't really exist in this realm like that, though. How would, did you, are we,
Let
Aster just
alone them being brought to extinction by my own aunt.
we are the aspects of creation. This realm of death, is merely another side of the coin. I preside in a realm where all souls must meet and pass through before moving to their final rest. Speaking to the souls of Mantanen lost, reaching an accord, they have agreed to return to life once more to show you your way. They will require new bodies, some born again. We have the capacity for that. He looked at Vyrtuous, who was looking shocked, maybe a little appalled. I don't. You saw when I tried that one time, Aster. I don't think. Aster just held his hand up. That is why it will be me, and not you. That is why I took all of this time in preparation to make it perfect. And out of respect, looked at Maha, for you, and your desire to avoid illusions, to have something real. With the acceptance of the souls that may return. All of this now is a possibility for you, should you accept. Vert was quiet, just kind of glancing at Maha.
Okay. Tell me what needs to happen next.
Simply place your hand on the circle.
And he simply would Do just that.
Aster
Look,
looked at Vyrtuous, and Vert kind of paused. Me too? Aster just nodded. And Vert also slowly put his hand on the circle. Maha, you would feel a sharp pain, first from your hand, then across your skin and your whole body. It only lasted a moment, and you could see the spell circle going from gold to a mixture of golds and red. You could feel your thoughts and memories sliding back from your present time all the way to your birth, and then somehow beyond to before your birth, to before the birth of your parents. And as you were feeling this very strange sensation, in the distance you could hear Aster speaking. Both of you will be reborn into Mantanin culture, in a land created for you, in a tribe that once was and now is once again. You will lose yourselves for a time as you live this new life, but do not fear. Your memories and everything will remain intact. Vert was looking a little surprised, but if I'm the body, then how? Aster just held up his hand. I will control the body. You will finally experience what it's like to live as one of your own creations. And before he could say anything, there'd be a flash and he was gone. Before you disappear, Ma, is there anything you'd like to say or do?
uh, he would feel that, like, like as an instinctual thing, I think he would end up exerting maybe a bit of his war song.
Huh. Through the voice and hearing your war song, the sound, like so many other times, would ring out, but begin to pulse in your ears. The rhythm matching your heartbeat, the sound, your song coming from your voice until light filled your vision, the song still in your ears until it sounded multiplied many, many, many times over. It was no longer your voice, but a chorus from a people. Your vision got tighter, or rather brighter, and then darkness, and then warmth, comfort. It was like waking up from a dream, at least sort of. You could feel yourself going from warmth, moving, feeling like you were being crushed until finally air. You could breathe. You could not see, but you could smell. A whole myriad of new sensations, new scents, new everything. Your arms and legs didn't really work. You could not open your eyes, at least not at first, but you could smell that you were not alone. You could hear a voice, but you didn't understand the language. You just somehow could sense excitement. Trying to wiggle your arms or do anything was an exhausting effort. You were starving. But you could smell around you that you weren't the only one. There were at least 5 of you there. You were no longer the aspect of war. You were a baby. And though you could not see, you were guided through this world by a sense of smell. Even now, you could rapidly feel your memories that you had of your regular life rapidly not fading away, but more so being packaged away, moved aside to make room for this new life. And for a time, that's all you knew. Nothing but silence. Not silence, nothing but darkness, coldness, hunger, the feeling of a guiding hand, comfort. Two very, very familiar scents, parental scents. And then four scents that were similar to yours, sibling scents. For a time, you could feel that, you could feel like pain, as if someone was constantly gnawing on you. It was annoying, but you couldn't see who it was. Until, over time, you could finally open your eyes. Hell, you could start to move, start to walk. You didn't know how much time had passed or what had happened, but you could hear a voice. Come, Maharastra. You can hear me, right? This way. Give me a dexterity roll to walk properly.
I got a 16.
Not bad, not bad. It took great effort just to stand. It was like for an adult trying to handstand. Your legs all wobbly, your balance weird, keeping your torso squared with your shoulders. But you had two tails to help you keep that balance. And it was somewhat instinctive to already move on all fours. But every time you tried, you could hear a stern voice saying, no, no, stand. And a very stern hand pushing you back up onto your hind legs until you were able to walk forward. See, around you there were fields of grass, streams of silver, a red sky up above, plains, mountains, and hills as far as you could see, and a family all around you. You were standing outside in what looked like almost like not quite a town square, but like the tribal square, the tribe circle. You could look around and see your home and the home of so many others. At this point, you had gotten so familiar with the sense that you knew your siblings were not too far away. You could see four other maintenance, some also trying to walk. And then there was one that was sitting there and just kind of playing in the dirt, grabbing a bunch of bugs and insects and kind of crushing them in his little hands and just smearing the colors on the floor, just seemingly mystified by that. But as you walked, you saw a mother, you saw a father. And as you walked towards your mother, who was looking very proud, a hand would roughly grab you by the scruff of your neck and pull you up into the air, your little feet dangling, your father staring directly into your eyes. If he can walk, he can train. And he'd take you away, just like that. A few of your other siblings got the same treatment. And life would continue. Now, a little older, able to talk, able to walk properly, somewhere around 7-ish, 8-ish years old, You stood there in front of a weapon rack. Your father standing in the corner, arms folded, watching you. A series of weapons playing out in front of you, from swords to great swords to battle axes to katars, chakrams, mauls, hammers, even lances, along with a variety of different shields, shield gauntlets, and the like. You have been waiting for this moment for a long time. You knew it was coming. And even now, you couldn't stop your heart from beating almost out of your chest. It was time for you to get your first weapon. What do you do? And what's going on through your mind?
Oh, he's happy. He's His eyes are gleaming with excitement. He's checking out every weapon, and he hasn't touched any weapon yet, but he's looking at each one with a brand new sense of excitement of like, oh, should I pick this one? Oh, but this one's cool too. It's like, oh, which one? I don't know. Oh, but I don't want to pick. Why can't I just have all of them?
Your father stood there, arms folded with a smirk, one eye closed from a scar from a long past battle, but you should have seen the other guy, and simply nodded. Eventually, you will wield them all, but every journey starts with the first step, a focus point. He pointed at all the weapons. Each weapon here is suited for a different personality, a different type of person, a different stratagem of war. This is not just a weapon, not just a tool, but also a symbol of you. He chuckled. You're first of many. And then he waited patiently. He didn't rush you or anything. He just stand there, perfectly still, militantly still, with his arms folded, watching you. But the swaying of his tails did betray his own excitement and pride.
Well, the first weapon's supposed to be a portrayal of me?
He nodded. Do not think too hard on it. Your mind will tie you in knots, slow you down. Instead, go with your first instinct. Always. Do not think, just react. Whichever weapon you like the most, grab it.
Is there something I can use it on?
Chuckled and took another step forward. The intention was obvious. You'd be swinging on your poppy.
Hmm. And he would kind of walk towards the weapon rack, looking at each one, but he's still not quite sure. It's like, I know what I choose. And he walks up to his dad, and he tries to strike his dad
With his bare hands?
with his bare hands.
Go ahead and give me that roll. Give me a strength roll. Little teeny tiny strength roll. Your 8-year-old hands.
I cut it in
Yeah.
half.
A healthy 24. So you would walk up and swing at him with your fists. He didn't move at all. He didn't shirk from it, and it felt like punching a stone wall. Like you knew it was flesh. You didn't hit armor or anything. It was just so much muscle density that it really felt like you were punching stone. He paused, stared directly down at you, and his features seemed to darken for a moment. He threw his head back and started laughing. When he knelt down to look you in your eyes, his knee impacting the floor made the floor tremble. He placed a heavy hand on your head and just grinned. The choice. That was my choice too.
Well, the body is the greatest weapon, right? You master it, you master everything.
He would hoist you up onto his shoulder so you'd have a higher view of the silver plains and some of the creatures that were just kind of moving about. Currently, there wasn't much, maybe a herd of bisonoid beasts that were just kind of traveling around. But to your small size, these things look like giants. And with those hands of yours, will you take down your prey? You choose the hardest path, one with no tools but your grit and your wit, one that has led to deaths of many of us. He looked at you, dead in the eye. Are you certain, Quran?
Yes.
He nodded, smirked, and you could see, even now, that some of your siblings had been going around choosing weapons of their own. Of your siblings, now that you could see them, there was you, two brothers, and two sisters. Each one of them had different weapons in their hand, from bows to hammers to one with a great sword to one with what looked like a sort of a double-bladed staff kind of deal. He had taken the staff, and even now he was still putting it together. He was sitting there. It looked like he was carving the staff out and taking the blades of two short swords and sticking them in. He wasn't doing a great job at it, but I mean, A for effort. As your father went to help one of your other siblings choose, and you were free to interact, what would you do?
Um, I think he'd interestingly watch the staff, the one that took a staff, try to make it into somewhat of a mix of weapons. He says, "Do you need assistance?"
This young Mantonin would look up at you, and from the scent alone, you knew it was one of your brothers. He had he hadn't ever really been as interested in combat as the rest. He was always the one who would be exploring the trees or paying attention to the smaller endemic life or just kind of all over the place, real flighty. But when you ask that, he would look up at you and have a bit of a bright smile. A smile that was weirdly familiar. Oh, yeah, I think I do. I don't. This is, this is, this is really hard, actually. I thought it would just be like simple. Just take a sword and paste it to the staff, and then take the other sword and paste it to the staff. But he looked over his shoulder. Uncle Tyzoran says blacksmithing is actually a lot harder than that. There's balance and weight and brittleness and all this other kind of crazy stuff. I just wanted a cool weapon. He looked up at you. Wait, where's your weapon?
You're looking at it,
He
and he's
squinted.
he's giving a proud uh gesture towards himself with his thumb. Taking a proud smile and like gesturing at himself. But so you're looking at him.
Yeah. He was kind of tilting his head.
I,
I'm pretty sure I could beat you with one sting and not even have my poison yet, pointing at his tails. What are you gonna do? Punch our bad guys to death?
I mean, that's what you did to bugs, right? Squish
I
them with your hand.
Yeah, but they're so much smaller.
Exactly. I'm sure you can do the same thing to things that are of much greater size too. Smashing them.
So you're going to squish big things, huh? He was sitting up now, stretching. With those hands of yours, he would
And
hold up
claws.
his and claws. He nodded, like very rapidly. And he held together his staff with the two swords, damn near duct taped on either side. Uh, well, if you can't beat me, you can't beat the monsters. So how about we test our weapons?
Well, first, let's maybe get you a weapon that isn't praying to stay together.
At least I have a weapon. Besides, if it falls apart, I could always crush you with my fist and my claws. Oh well, I probably wouldn't do that. I'd probably just stab you. His tails waved again, and of all your siblings, he was definitely the one who seemed to be the most dexterous with his tails. They weren't prehensile per se, but he used them very much like additional limbs.
Hmm. I'll take you up on that challenge, brother.
He grinned, and you knew that this one's name was Diavith. Though, kind of like your name, Kuran, it was a bit of a pet name. Meant star eyes.
What was it? You're gonna type that one out for me, sir.
Got you.
You disgusting cretin.
Diavith.
Okay.
And until you would spar. Give me 3 strength rolls.
Okay.
Versus a 7, a 23, and a 17. This guy needs that 20s! And a 25. Oh my god, you smoked his boots. Again. Reincarnated smoked his boots. That's crazy. But paint the scene for me though. How would young Maha actually fight? Especially once again, in this almost weird sense of deja vu against an opponent with much longer range than him.
uh, this time he's fighting in a sense of give and take.
Hmm.
He takes the swift strike that was thrown, dodges it, and uses the same motion that you're using to pull back your spear to pull his fist inwards towards you.
Mm.
And as the spear meets with your body for another strike, my fist connects.
Very nice. During the scrap, even as the two of you were going back and forth, you could hear not cheering, a little bit of cheering, but more stomping. Stomping, movement, the thumping of fists on chests, but in rhythm. A song, a war song. As you and the other kids were both discovering their weapons and finding people to spar with, it wasn't just you two, it was plenty of others. The adults had turned this into a ceremony. And you could hear the war song. Hell, you didn't know it yet, but you could feel it empowering you, each strike, making you sharper, making you stronger, making you wiser. As if the very knowledge of your tribe was being imbued into your movements. It wasn't just the Avith that you fought. You'd be fighting with all of your siblings. Hell, all of the kids essentially had something of a mini tournament. And that day, you ate good. You ate great because you had come out on top. At the dinner table that night, you were there. The Avith was there with a black eye. One of your sisters, hold on, her name is Variza, with a bow slung across her back. Also looked rather victorious, as she had won majority of her fights. Your other sister, Zareth, was sitting there with a great sword, just leaning across her shoulders, looking super proud. Super. She had all kinds of scars and cuts and everything across her body, but she still looked proud as hell. And while one of your brothers was missing, another one, Jorash, Jorash, was not eating. He was just sitting back, watching everyone, particularly staring at you. He was the largest of your litter, and he carried across his shoulder a maul, a giant hammer, essentially. He just kept grilling you. You had fought him in the many fights, and you had won that fight. But out of everyone, though no one else took it personally, it seemed like he did. Still, life was good. In this time, you, your tribe, your people shared many meals, had plenty of hunts, at nights had songs. Sometimes Diavith was taken to sit with the shamans and learn how to carve totems, even at his young age. But soon the time would come for your very first hunt. Being put in a group, you had done this, or rather, you had seen your parents and family do this plenty of times. Find prey, lead prey to an ambush, ambush the prey, kill the prey, bring it home, or feasts and foraging. And now it was your turn. I'm gonna type your sibling's name in the chat. You can choose any one of them to come with you. I also typed the weapon that they have with them.
I can only pick one.
Yes, it is a two-person hunt. Um, Where is... Here we go, Jorash. You know that Chrysivore is actually the true name of the other
Chrysivore?
Chrysivore, yes. I'm typing them all in the chat right now,
Gotcha.
and here you go.
I would take Jurash.
The one that don't like you. Huh. Interesting choice. So, as you're choosing your siblings for the hunt, oh, all your siblings are kind of figuring out who to work with. How would you approach Jorash?
I would come up to him. Kind of trying to pump myself up. Making myself definitely seem bigger than what I actually am. And I would, Josh, you know, if you're upset, there are other competitions that you may be able to beat me in. But, I mean, you could try.
Feel the ground rumble with his snarl. I see his eyes slowly, his head didn't move, but his eyes slowly dragged up to glare at you. May. That I may beat you. He would slowly rise up to his full height, and at this point, y'all were about 10 years old. Maybe like nine going on 10. But he was already about a foot or two taller than you. Easily like 50, 60 pounds heavier.
I mean, you haven't beat me yet.
You can see his fingers tightening across the maul that he just seemed to always have squared across his shoulders. Give me a charisma roll. And don't roll low.
I got a 9.
Damn. His maul came swinging down directly at your location. I'm gonna roll for him right quick. Let's assume your AC is an 18.
And I'm definitely striking back at it. Like, as he's bringing his maul down, I'm bringing my fist up at his maul.
It would be the impact sound of almost like a bell being rung. The shockwave making both of you guys' hairs rise up just from the wind for just a moment. The ground beneath you splintered into fractures, but you stood strong. And he glared at you. Not angrily. He's not as angry. It looked like that motion, what you did, may have brought you a little bit of respect. What do you want, runt?
Your strength. It's what I want.
With a smirk, he finally lifted that maul away from your fists and back onto his shoulders. You know what happened to the last person that wanted my strength? He motioned to the mall where there was just a minor chip in one of the ridges. That's Tezorin. Or what was Tezorin. Tezorin, you didn't really know that well. I mean, you had known him. You grew up with him. He was one of your brothers. Emphasis on was. You had seen him all the way up until that day. You guys had been training. You guys at first got your weapons and started training together. And you didn't see him that night. Now you know why. In the sparring, apparently, Durash had accidentally, quote unquote, killed his brother. So you better get to the point fast.
Oh, look at you. Still dealing with the remembrance of the week. I'm glad you still remember our brother. Happy, in fact. But it shows that you still have a heart. That I want that heart to be my protection on this hunt. Your heart and your strength.
Huh. You could see the slightest hint of an eyebrow raising. Give me another charisma roll. And with that dialogue, we'll add a +3. For an unnatural 20. He stared at you for a very long time. He rose up and just started walking. Just don't get in my way.
You're too slow to get in. You're a bit too slow for me to be able to get in your way.
He shook his head. And for a moment, you could have sworn you saw the hint of a slight smirk, as if he might have almost chuckled at that. Some slight amusement. But it was very quickly erased as y'all headed off into the plains and away from the safety of your tribe, the Shrouding Spirit tribe. There were several different biomes, different potential targets to journey, and Jorash kept moving forward, looking around, not taking any kind of precaution at all whatsoever. He wasn't being stealthy. He wasn't crouching low in the grass. Any creature that saw him just kind of ran off. He didn't really seem to care. He was just looking around, looking for a target. Now, in your territory, you can catch the scent trails of all kinds of different potential prey. But there are 4 in particular that you knew would be a great first hunt. Some a little bit easier than the others. All of them dangerous if you weren't careful. I'm going to give you a description of them. I guess by now you would have seen you know what they look like too, so I'm going to share the images as well. But these creatures, give me 1 second. We got the plains, the woodlands, the mountains, the caves. And I'm sharing them into the chat right now. You knew of massive armored beasts that roamed and excavated cavern systems They seemed rather large to be fossorial creatures, creatures that burrowed in and out from underground, and yet their armor and their hides made for excellent weapons, especially their bones. You knew that in the forest, or rather in the woodlands, where you were at right now didn't have dense, deep forests, but there were some woodlands. And there were two potential creatures. One, much more stealthy and camouflaged, deadly poisonous to the point where really only Mantanen could safely eat them. And the other, these wolves that grew bone spurs out from their bodies, bladed bones, especially across their tails, making bladed whips. They were pack hunters, not too dangerous alone, but as a group, devastating, eviscerating even. And further off, the furthest from your tribe, deeper up into the mountains, there were these beasts that were known to be very intelligent, dangerously so. They were rare and difficult creatures to hunt, and so only seasoned hunters were generally allowed to even go that far. And when they did, there were at least four of them. Of these four creatures, which would you choose?
Uh, the horned creature in the mountains. Obviously.
Of course you. Jurash seemed to be walking in that direction anyway. So at least you wouldn't have to convince him. But the journey was long, and as y'all got closer, as y'all traveled further, you noticed that Jorash seemed he was focused for sure. There seemed like there was something on his mind. But of course he wouldn't say anything. As you guys arrive, or rather, as you guys start getting closer to the mountains, is there anything that you would like to say or do?
You know, I don't know how you could be so silent and yet not stealthy at all.
He glared at you. Why do I need to be stealthy? My prey is going to come to me.
I point around at all of the creatures that are running, actively, running away from him. You know, we are on a journey, and I would have liked to catch a snack on the way, but somebody likes to walk like thunder and scare everything away.
Well, you said I'm slow, right? Makes you fast. Go and catch one. He just nodded his head off to the distance. Or do you need to sneak around like a weakling and a coward to get your prey? A true warrior, the 9-year-old said, knows that nothing can stop him between him and his prey. If I wanted any of these beasts, I would run them down or I would throw a rock, break their skull, and feast at my leisure.
Fine. Are you hungry? I'll catch us each one.
He just scoffed. His eyes flickered, looking somewhere else for just a moment, and then he kept walking. Do what you want. I need your help anyway.
Oh, sounds like a yes.
He keep moving, completely ignoring you. Give me a perception check. Hey,
33.
your whiskers picked up a disturbance on the wind a slight change in the air currents that would have caught your attention only slightly, but just enough to know that you guys weren't alone. As Drash ventured deeper into the mountains, as he started to climb, you could feel like you were being watched by something. What do you do?
Um, as Josh is climbing, I get on top of his shoulders. I was like, "You're not too big enough to carry me, right? Uh, there's something close, and I need a better view. You keep moving forward, I'll watch our backs."
There was a slight grunt of approval, actually. And some of that pride seemed to peel away as Drash's mind slipped further into the hunt, into combat. No matter how he felt about you, you were still his brother and still a fellow warrior. And you had challenged him to protect you. He had every intention of surpassing that challenge. As he climbed and looked around, you could see his tails kind of rear up almost like a cage, not around you, but close enough to deflect anything that might attack you. And he continued to climb. Another quick glance around. Give me a perception check. Versus a 27.
Got 34.
Ooh. It wasn't your eyes. It was all the way back to birth, your sense of smell that warned you before anything else. Your eyes just jolted in a direction, a little bit above you guys, but more to the left behind a particular rocky shelf. You saw a hand rise up and swoosh as something got launched at you. It was a boulder, but carved, it seems, almost diamond shaped, thrown directly at the both of you. I'm going to roll and see if this hits Trash. It does, slamming into his shoulder, causing him to grunt and lose his grip. At this point, you guys are about 500 feet above, still climbing this surprisingly steep mountain. He lost the grip on one hand, but with his free hand, he grunted, digging his claws into the stone, sliding down just a few inches before glaring up and around. You could see, even though that he couldn't, that this creature was now staring directly down at you. It was known as an Higashin, spoken with reverence, and understandably so. The moment it threw that at you, it seemed to fade away back behind the rocks. This thing was intelligent, clever, and powerful. What do you do?
I look at Jarosh. Throw me upward. Let me catch it first, and I'll help you up. We don't want you catching another stray.
He grunted, glaring at you, as he takes, 17 damage. All right, go. He would shake you off his back in a way that you would land on his tails. And like a spring, the tails would lean downward. Well, they pressed together, dip downwards under your weight, and then as he roared, he catapulted you straight up. The creature seemed to see that and beam a rock directly at you. Again, assuming your AC is 18.
I'm definitely throwing another, a reversal at that if possible.
All right. Unfortunately, this rock would hit you. And let's assume your HP is halved of what it currently, or what it normally is.
Oh, so 200?
Jesus Christ. Okay, your HP is 100. Yeah. You take 19 damage. as this rock slams into you. But if you like to reverse, I'll go right ahead. You have
Um.
all of your class abilities, just not your aspect.
Oh,
Actually,
got
no,
you.
I guess at this point, no, you don't even really have that. You have some of your class abilities.
Okay, so third level.
That's fair.
Uh, would my stats be still similar? Okay, to each one. Hmm. So okay. So just to we can keep the AC still at 18. I'm okay with that. But I would actually um before, can I say before the boulder strikes? Um, I would like to punch at, like, make direct contact with the boulder instead.
Okay. Give me a strength roll to see if your momentum carries your fist through the boulder or the boulder just sends you flying up the mountain. This is a very ambitious punch for an 8-year-old man to make.
And this one is going to be a reckless attack. So
Gotcha.
a 22. Oh,
It's
that did not roll
successful.
with it.
Oh, it did? Ew.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm very glad I rolled with advantage. Yeah.
The DC
Okay,
was
well, it
20,
would have
so
been a
you did.
14. Yeah.
Your fist would slam into the boulder, and you could feel the rock shredding your knuckles. You could feel the pain shoot across your wrists all the way down to your elbow, but you'd still punch through it with a young roar of your own. Your momentum was halted only slightly, but Jorash, still climbing, would have caught you once again and looked at you for just a moment as if waiting for a visual cue to throw you back up there.
Would you say I got a positional uh peek of where the monster was?
Yes. The monster is higher up above you, more so to the left. If you consider yourself climbing up the center of
Right.
this mountain or cliffside, he's like 2 stories up higher behind a shelf to your left.
Okay.
You can see
Um,
him once again dipping in and out of cover. He, or it rather, appears out of cover to attack and then to defend goes back behind cover.
um, so Josh, I think it's your turn. Uh, he's, and I would give the most current position that I saw the monster in. Mad dash, recklessness, and instinct.
Now you're speaking my language. He'd go charging, scrabbling with both hands, feet, and using his tails for extra traction, climbing rapidly up onto the shelf where you had seen the monster fade away from. When you got up there, you saw that the lip of this ledge was only about a couple feet wide, definitely not large enough for the two of y'all. But it led further back into a hole in the mountainside that seemed to be like a small cave or perhaps a den. The scent, though, seemed to have two trails, one leading into the cave and one leading further higher up. You didn't know which one was the right one. Jurash was also sniffing, looking around. He held his maul in both hands. Where is he? Where is he?
Shh. Quiet down and listen. It can hear us and it can see us, but we don't know where it is. But let's go down this path, but not fully. And would you say we came pretty amply prepared?
Yes.
Um, I would
Well,
light
you
a
do.
torch.
Gosh, he just
Yeah,
walked.
I would light a piece of wood on fire and throw it way, like, super deep into the cave.
Smart. Tossing it, you could see it, a torch fly into the darkness and illuminating what looked to be rather narrow walls and a somewhat small ceiling. A cornucopia of various different bones, and the torch would actually hit a back wall, revealing that the cave was not that deep. Definitely more like a bear's den than a fully fleshed out cave tunnel system. When the torch impacted, though, you saw from beneath the bones the beast would rise up and take a swing at that area, stomping the torch out, not necessarily intentionally, but seemingly surprised. It took one last look at you before the darkness covered it, and then you could hear the to 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 as it's charging towards you.
Wow, we found our beast.
Josh grinned, stepped in front of you, imposing himself in between you and the beach and the creature, holding his maul like a baseball bat. I've been waiting for this. And when the creature approached, he would take a step forward and swing for defenses.
I kind of want to
Well,
try to synchro roll with that.
do we have that in A&E? I think that's next to this thing, buddy. Hey, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, his is pretty similar to mine, so.
This guy in this, this is really a Maharashtra. You see from his footing, from Jorash's footing, that the second trap that this creature set, he's standing on. The ground beneath you guys is unstable. And if the creature slams into him, even if he impacts with it, that floor beneath you guys is going to collapse and drop you all down the mountain. He doesn't see it though. He's getting ready to swing. For you, it was as if this is all happening in slow motion, as if the battlefield was something you were visualizing from a top-down perspective, and you could move all the pieces. What do you do?
So I see that the floor is kind of quaky.
Yes.
I'll take the initiative. Uh, I'm gonna be the pitcher and he's gonna be the swinger. Uh, mastering my body first. What comes after striking is throwing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would get within I would get into range of the beast first before it got to the quaky area. And in a sort of judo fashion, try to knock it off balance. Swing downward into the swing downward into the rocks.
Ooh. Okay. This is fancy. So give me a strength or dexterity roll plus your knowledge modifier. Your goal is to hit a 25. Intelligence. Sorry.
I have 23.
Not a 25. Still rather high, though. Stepping in the way, preparing to intercept this beast, or at least throw him down so that your brother could smash his head in. You moved in the way of this creature and you saw its movements, but its eyes locked onto you. It lowered its head down and charged in a way where you kind of had to grab its horns. But the strength of its shoulders, neck, and skull was so fierce that, with a very rapid shaking of its head, give me another strength roll. See if you are the one who gets dropped prone instead of him. Goal is versus a 20. He would rear his head up, lifting you off the ground. Slam it down. Can your brethren help you? Oh, he's sinking over. Slam you into the ground, and immediately your brother yelled, I got it, and he'd swing his hammer down as well. Slamming the maul into its horns, clearly expecting to break them things, but not quite succeeding. The creature was stronger than either one of you guys expected, but when that impact hit, the ground beneath you fractured. And that fracture turned into a crumble. Before you guys tumble down to your demise, what do you do? You are prone, by the way.
Prone, but not. Are we falling just yet, or?
No. By the end of this turn, the ground will break beneath you.
Would you say I'm prone, stomach up, or
On your back?
up?
Your back is to the floor.
Gotcha. As that happens, I'm going to kind of aim my feet towards the monster, and with my tails and my arms, I'm going to launch myself at the creature.
Huh. Interesting move. All right. Yeah, sure. Give me that strength roll.
I just bit my tongue too. Holy cow, that hurt.
Ouch.
Got 25.
Nice.
There's the 25 what I want.
Tails coiled, springing yourself up at the creature, even as he's bearing down at you. You would hit him. Though, again, as powerful as this beast is, part goat, part gorilla, it staggered backwards just a bit, but not far enough. The floor beneath you guys would shatter. And you saw Jorask yell, or rather, you heard him yell as the ground collapsed beneath him and he fell. You too would begin to fall, but the creature staggered down with you. It wasn't a free fall so much as you guys are against the side of the mountain and the rocks are crumbling around you, beside you, and even above you. Take 12 points of damage as the three of you go tumbling down the mountain. But even as rocks are thudding in your ears, the sound of thunder rumbling just from the vibrations, you hear your brother yelling, It's not over! It's not over yet! He's grabbing on wherever he could to try to slow his descent, though at this point it's a very steep incline. Rocks are battering him, but he's trying to slam his maul into the wall, at least to knock handholds in for something for you to grab on. As you guys are scrabbling down, the creature, who is also doing its best to try to hold on and not go falling completely, is using its large paws to almost try to stick to the rocks to grab on. But with you so close next to it, what are you doing? You guys have 2 turns before you hit the ground very hard.
I'm making sure this impact on the ground is what ends it for this creature.
And how are you doing that?
Um, First I would give a directorial order to Josh. Don't worry about me. I'm bringing it down with me. Just be ready on the ground for the finishing. And I am going to kind of get in a position where I'm directly above the creature and trying to make sure it can't grab onto anything solid.
Give me a contested strength roll with the creature. It is going to be a best of 3. 23 to a 27. As you're grappling with the creature, you see it roar. You got to rear your head back to avoid it trying to bite your whole face off. And both of you guys are still bouncing off the rocks. Currently, even though you're trying to get the upper hand on it, its strength and knowledge of the landscape is working heavily against you. The ground is rapidly approaching. You will take 5 more con damage as you are bouncing across the rocks. Give me another strength roll. Remember, best of 3, so you still have another chance here. 25 to 23. One of the creature's hands would grab onto the rocks, trying to stop it. And as it did, you'd be able to swing a quick instinctive punch to its face, twisting it in the air, dislodging it once again, and now you are on top of it. As you're all tumbling, you can see Jorash is also doing his damnness to try to maintain stability against the rocks. Final roll. Who will crash onto the ground?
Actually, I'm on top of this one, correct?
Yes.
I'm actually going to try to increase the drag on myself so that there's distance.
How so?
Kind of paraglider style. I'm going to, well, actually, sort of feline style. I'm going to extend my arms and legs and tails out in each directional area, trying to catch as much wind as possible.
Good idea, but this creature is scrapping at you, grappling at you, and clawing at you, so we'll have to roll and see. I will give you an extra +2, though, for the ingenuity.
Oh!
The idea was solid. The execution probably would have been better, but this was something you'd never really practiced. This was instinct. And normally, that would have been all you needed. At least normal Maha. But in this tiny body that had not done the training, the repetitions to turn these things into instinct, this was all new. And so, as you got ready to try to use the drag, as you tried to play your arms and legs and focus, this creature would swing its hands and smack you right across your face, throwing you off just enough so that you bounced off the wall, grabbing you, or rather scrapping with you so that both of you went tumbling down, and the impact. Give me a luck roll. I too will roll luck twice.
15.
You hit the ground. The boom blasting your eardrums. The impact shattering bones, breaking ribs, arms, even a tail or two. everything would go black, but you were still breathing. The pain was phenomenal, but it would have been worse had Drash not thrown himself in the way, caught you at a side angle, and hit the ground too, taking a healthy chunk of the impact as well, breaking one of his arms and his tails, but in the effort, keeping the both of you alive. Both of y'all are taking 40 con damage, 40 HP damage. With the dust rising up, with these wounds across your body, you didn't hear anything at first. You didn't see anything until you heard, Quran, Quran, are you all right? Quran, are you right? A
I'm
hand
still
shot
here.
through the dust and the debris and grabbed your brother by the back of his head, lifting him up. Another hand shot up and grabbed you by your face, lifting you up. Between the fingers of this beast, you could see that the creature, though injured, was still very much alive and very angry. And we have to pause it there for a part 2 tomorrow. Sideshows don't normally get part 1 and part 2, but this one is particularly dramatic. Oh,
Yes.
I gotta do the outro. Okay, so
Yes.
Will Young Maharastra defeats his first beast on his first hunt, choosing the toughest and rarest of creatures that even many adults could not slay. Will he and his brother survive? And what else lies in store as he lives his life under proper Mansonin lifestyle? Culture, thank you. Under proper Mansonin culture. Find out next time about Maha and the shrouding spirit tribe. In our next side trail, in Aspects and Envoys, I have been your host, Asterisk, and occasionally Vyrtuous. And with me today, Maharashtra.
My body is a temple.
Profound. Soulsym Mirak.
Shout out and kudos to Asterik for leading this one, and Maha has been providing quite the entertaining walk through past life regression. So uh, stay tuned, man.
And with that, I hope you guys have a very good night, good morning, good evening, and good rest of your lives. Have a good day.